So, um, I'm going to be flat ironing and clipping the ends of my hair today, and I just figured that I'd make a video since it's been a while. I have a lot of updates, I have a lot of things that I want to say. And I love to multitask, so that's gonna be the plan. I washed my hair yesterday, day before yesterday, and I let it air dry. Just because I want to minimize the exposure or like the manipulation that I do to my hair for right now, because I did just comb out my locks and my hair has been through a lot. So I'm just trying to minimize everything that I do to it, and I knew that I wanted to flat iron it so that I could really clip my ends really good. So I let it air dry. I left it in the twist so that I could, work with the small sections as I take the twists out. I just thought that this would be a better way to do it. This is going to be my first time doing it this way. Usually I take out my twist and then wash my hair, and then it's like a whole process trying to get it flat ironed. So I'm sure, I think that this way is going to be beneficial. But now that I'm thinking about it, because the way that I twisted my hair, I'm trying to decide if I want to flat iron it today or if I want to use this product that I bought and just do like a wash and go. But I already let my hair dry, so I think I'm gonna use this another time. I tried using it like right after I took my hair out, like right after I combed my hair out, and it just was not. It was not it. The word just say that. So I'm hoping that if I can get my ends clipped and just take care of my hair a little bit and get it back to the state it was before I locked it, maybe I'll get a better result for my wash and go. So right now what I'm doing is adding some leave-in conditioner, and I'm using a fine tooth comb to comb out the hair so that I can get it combed out properly and be able to see what I'm working with on my ends. I think I already clipped this one because I did like a trial test before I decided that I was going to go this route. So I think I already clipped these ends. But once I flat iron, I'll be able to get a better look at if it needs to be clipped some more. I forgot to get something to catch my ends. So give me a second. Let me get that. Alright. Okay, so I'm gonna use this and I'll just like kind of shake it out later. Shouldn't be too much hair. I'm just gonna cut off like just whatever I see at the end that's looking raggedy or dead. Alright, so that's enough about the process of what I'm doing with my hair, because I am not a hairstylist, although I have been doing my hair for a very long time, and I prefer to do my own hair because it's just a lot, and to pay somebody to do it would just be a lot, and I just prefer, like, I enjoy doing my own hair. It's relaxing to me, and I always have done my own hair. I just don't enjoy when other people do my hair. So, yeah. So that's the process. So what was it that I wanted to talk about? I think the best place to start the conversation. Let me change the angle because I feel like with this, you guys are gonna be looking at a lot of the side of my head. And although the side of my head is beautiful, you kind of want a front angle view. So that's my dresser. I'm sitting on the floor, my meditation pillow, in my bedroom. Alright, so hopefully that is stable enough to where we don't have any issues with it falling. Let's go a little bit this way. Okay. Alright, so I think that's a little bit better. Okay, so I just got done watching a Tyler Perry interview. And I've always enjoyed Tyler Perry. I know people have their opinions about him, but even when he was doing his plays and playing the role of Medea, I always felt like the advice that he had to give and the things that he had to say was always very insightful, always very aligned with things that I would. It was always aligned with advice that I would give to others and advice that I would want somebody to give to me, basically. Like, it always made sense. It always aligned. There was always an aha moment. And this interview was no different. There were a lot of things that he said that that stuck with me and that made me really be like, wow, you're right. And one of those things was he said that he likes to think of the little voice inside your head as God talking to him. Like, and that's always been something that I believe as well. My father, that's one of the things that my father actually taught me, and one of the things that stuck with me. I really and truly believe that is a true statement. That little voice in your head that we would sometimes call our conscience, like when we're about to do something and that voice is like, don't do that, or do it, or this is how you should think about something, or whatever the voice is telling you. He always told me to think about it as if it's God's voice speaking to you. And that always stuck with me. Even though my father and I don't have a relationship today, that's something that he said to me that has always stuck with me. I think I've mentioned that in another video before. And so Tyler Perry also gave that as a bit of advice as well. And yeah, see, like this, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's like little, I can see like where the hair should be cut. And it's easier to see that when I flat iron it, so that's why I'm flat ironing it. And then my ends will be a lot less raggedy. And then we can move from there. I think I want to cut a little bit more off from here. Okay, good. So that's always been something that stuck with me, even though my father and I don't have a relationship. So that was one of the things that Tyler said. And then he also made this analogy that, like, God will speak to you and it'll be like, he used the analogy that it'll be like in the form of an acorn. And then if you don't see that as a sign, then, something else will happen that's more dramatic, and then something else will happen that's more dramatic until you finally get it. So there's always like little signs, like you'll hear that little voice and then you don't listen, and then a little other confirmation will come, like somebody will come and say something to you, or something else will happen, and then you're like, you don't listen, and then something more dramatic and more dramatic and more dramatic happens until you finally get it. And I want to use a personal example when it comes to that, because something happened to me recently that really drives that point home. And so basically, I don't want to get into a whole story, but basically I met someone, and it wasn't like on a romantic type thing, although it was for him. I just wasn't, I wasn't in a position. Actually, let me backtrack. I'm going to tell you guys why I wasn't in a position to entertain anything with him. So ever since I moved, and I moved to like this new location away from my family, there was a prayer that I spoke, and I said, you know, when I was younger, like in other situations, I would pray for like, a specific thing or specific type of person, or, specific of what I thought that I wanted. And then my prayer changed, and of course, I was sent all of these different kind of things, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should just change my prayer. And so instead of asking for what it is that I thought I wanted, I just said, God, please send me what I need right now in this moment, right in this season of my life. You know what it is that I need. What will bring me the person and the circumstances that will be for my highest good, whether it's good or bad. I'm not going to make any judgments. I'm not gonna impede on what I thought that it is, what I think it is that I want. I'm not going to make any assumptions. I'm not gonna tell you I want him to be like this and I want him to be like that. Just send me whoever it is or whatever it is that is for my highest good. And I moved and I met, it was like I just kept meeting people. I just kept meeting people, and I kind of lost sight of what my prayer was. But at the same time, maybe, I don't know, I kind of did, in the sense of I was looking at it from the wrong perspective. I was looking at it from the perspective of, okay, whoever is being sent to me is going to be my person, and not from the perspective of I did ask for whatever it is that I needed in this season. So I wasn't fully aware, or I wasn't fully in the consciousness of understanding that that may or may not be the person that's for me. I may not be ready for that. And I was, as I was making the prayer, I was like fully understanding, like, maybe I'm not ready for love and that's why it's not coming. Maybe I'm not ready for whoever my person is, and that's why all these random people just keep coming and I keep having to learn lessons. Maybe I'm not ready. So instead of asking for whatever it is that I think I need, I'm just going to ask for what it is that I actually need. And so these people kept showing up, and it's like I kept finding things that were wrong with them. And that's been a pattern for me that I've already mentioned to you guys. And I just finally made the decision that I was just going to stop dating. I'm just, yeah. And once I made that decision, I was like, yeah, I just can't. Because at that time, I think I had like 3 different guys that, and they just all came at the same time. It was very confusing. I was like, I don't know who is who and what is what. Like, this is too much for me. Because I went from like fully being single to having 3 different guys that were interested in me. And I didn't like any of them. I couldn't see myself with any of them. One of them we came really close. Like, he had all of the things that I thought I wanted in a partner. But he didn't like the fact that I like to move around a lot. And he was like, no, you're supposed to be stable and you're supposed to, be a wife and you're supposed to stay at home with the kids and all of these different kind of things. And at one point I thought that that's what I wanted, but as it was staring in my face through this man, and as he was saying all of this stuff to me, I just quickly realized that it's not what I wanted, or maybe it wasn't what I wanted with him. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I just had this overwhelming feeling that it wasn't what I wanted. So I backed away from him, and then slowly but surely I backed away from the other 2 as well. And I just finally got to a space of where I was by myself. And in the midst of this, I met this other guy. And he originally came at me on a like, let's go on a date kind of thing. And we went on our first date. And the first acorn, according to, like if we're going back to the analogy that Tyler Perry made, the first acorn was on the date. We're sitting there getting to know each other, and then the meal is coming to an end, and it's time to go our separate ways because I met him there. I don't believe in allowing a guy to come pick me up if it's the first date. I don't want you to know where I live. I don't want to be in the same car with you. That's just a rule that I have developed over time. And that's just the way that I feel comfortable moving. So, I met him there at the restaurant, and he was like, basically towards the end of the meal, he invited me back to his house. And I got offended. I was like, no, I'm not coming back to your house. He was trying to play it off, making it seem like, whatever excuse he could. But obviously, like, I'm not stupid. There's no other reason that a man would invite you to his house other than to sleep with you, especially after a date. And so we got into it because I felt like he was trying, like, basically, he was trying me, like, trying to play me for a fool. And I was calling him out on his crap. And he was like, still trying to make excuses. And I just kind of left him there at the restaurant, and I called an Uber and I went home. Um, and, then he texted me afterwards and he apologized and he was like, you're right. I can understand your perspective on it. Because I'm like, how are you not concerned with how you come off to me? Like, to me, it's like if a man is interested in you as a woman, he's going to be very concerned with how you view him. Like, you know, he's going to be very concerned with the impression that he gives on you. So the fact that he didn't care and was moving so carelessly, it was a very like big red flag for me. And I was just at a point, I'm just like, listen, that's a red flag. I'm not about to sit up here and go back and forth with you about it. I'm not coming back to your place, and this is why. And so we kind of got into it. So afterwards, he messaged me and he was like, I'm sorry or whatever. Um, I see that, a romantic thing is not going to work out with us, but I have, he was like, it was just, we met at the perfect time. He was moving into a place that had extra bedrooms, and I was in a position to where I needed to move from where I was at because one of the three guys that I had mentioned earlier, um, lived at one of the places that I was living. And being the fact that, I didn't want to be with him, he was just kind of one of those guys that, like, couldn't take no for an answer. And I saw it as a very dangerous situation. And so I was like, you know what, let me just move because he's not respecting my space and my boundaries. And so when this guy came and he was like, I have an extra bedroom, but so even though you don't want to, even though it's not going to work romantically with us, I think that we would make good roommates. And at the time, I had plans to, I need something to secure. At the time, I had plans to move back to Phoenix because I had a job offer that was really good. And so, but the job wasn't going to start until the school year. This was like in the middle of the summer that this happened. So I was like, I just need a place to crash I can until I can move to Phoenix and whatever. And so he was like, that's perfect because my son and his mom are going to move, they're going to move into the house with me in August, and that's when you have to leave, and so it's going to be perfect. So I was like, okay, fine. So I paid him my rent and I moved in. And everything, was okay in the beginning. He, there were a few little hiccups along the road, in any roommate type situation. But I kept getting this feeling that something was off about him. He wasn't being honest about something. He wasn't this just was not, a forthcoming, like, whatever it was that our agreement was, that wasn't his full intention. Like, that's what my intuition was telling me, or that's what God's voice was telling me, however we want to look at it. But I kept ignoring it. And I kept ignoring it, and I kept ignoring it. And, like, it got to the point to where he went away for a couple weeks. And during that time, I just had, like, this overwhelming feeling to, like, just pack up my stuff and leave. Like, I just kept feeling it. And I kept feeling it, and I kept ignoring it, and I kept ignoring it. And he finally came back, and things just got worse and worse and worse and worse. So back to that analogy, the acorn was our first date, and what happened on the first date, and then it upgraded and got worse and worse and worse and worse, until finally one day, something happened to where, because I never wanted to give him the wrong impression, so I wasn't overly friendly with him. I would say hi, and then I would go in my room. If we're both in the kitchen together, I would, make my meal or whatever and take it back to my room. Like, I wasn't about to have no conversation, no side conversation with him. Like, I just kept everything very platonic. And, I let him know that I'm a very clean person or whatever. And he wasn't as clean, so we would kind of have, like, little conversations about that. And it was all, like, very passive aggressive. Like, whatever issues he had with me was always very passive aggressive. Like, he would act like, nothing is wrong, but clearly something is wrong in his energy. And so, we kind of went along like that. And so finally he was like, I think you should move out in August. And I was like, wasn't that always the plan though? Like, throughout the whole time, he was trying to get me to change my mind about, like, moving in August. Like, at one point he was like, oh, you're such a good roommate. Like, if you need to stay past August, then, I would welcome you and I would love to have you, or whatever the case is. But then the more he got to see that I am not, like, basically he was doing whatever he could to get what he originally wanted, which was sex. And so he tried all these different tactics. And so even inviting me to be his roommate was part of that tactic. And he got to the point to where he saw none of it was going to work. And then he basically was like, you need to move out. And I was like, okay, cool. So we got to that point, and I was like, all right, well, all you have to do is reimburse me for the rent that I've already paid for the month, prorated or whatever, and I'll move out. And this was all done through text message. So I don't know if, like, he didn't expect me to be so cool about it or whatever, because he basically, like, told me to move out and then expected me to move out within a few hours. And I had a whole bunch of things that I needed to pack. So I'm like, okay, I mean, shoot me my money and I'm going to come back to the house and I'm going to pack up my shit and I'm going to go. So that's what I did. I show up to the house in an Uber after our text conversation, and we exchanged words, and basically it was along the lines of, you can, I'm waiting for you to send me the thing. I'm going to go inside and pack up my things. So I'm inside packing up my things, and I hear a knock on my bedroom door. And I open it. It's the police. This guy called the police on me. For what? I'm going to tell you why I think he did. Because I think that the whole thing was, because when we were first moving in, we kind of, when you first move in, you go to the store, Target and Walmart and whatever, to buy, like, household stuff. So we kind of did that together, and I noticed he was stealing out of Walmart and out of Target. And so, but I didn't say anything to him. Those are other red flags that warned me against moving in with him. But because I wanted to get away from that other situation at the other house, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna deal with this situation until I can find a better, until, August basically. And then I'll go back to Phoenix and everything will be fine. I'll get my own place. Um, and so, that's what he was doing. So my theory is, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but my intuition tells me that the place that we were living in wasn't even his, because he had given me some story about that his frat brother, because he has a criminal record, which is another red flag. I need to get out of the habit of giving people chances when they tell me they have a criminal record, instead of thinking, oh, people can change or whatever. No, people have a criminal record for a reason. I don't have a criminal record. I've been able to make it to 30 years old without a criminal record. So the people that I'm going to deal with from now on need to be on that same frequency. I'm not making any exceptions for people anymore. I'm not going to understand, oh, I'm just not going to let people give me excuses anymore. I'm going to stop associating myself with people who are not in alignment with who I am. And so, he was like, he has a record and that's why he can't rent a place on his own, but he found this house and his frat brother owns it. And so he gave him a chance or whatever. What I think is the frat brother let him house sit the place because he made a comment like, in August, other people are going to be moving in. And so when I asked him who those other people were, that's when he made up the story about his baby mom and his son moving in. So I really think that, like, basically the agreement between him and the frat brother was house sit until August, when these new people move in, and then you got to find another place to live. And so he lied to me, and basically he wasn't paying rent. So the rent that I was paying to him was going in his pocket. That's what I think was going on. But again, I don't have confirmation on that, but that's what my intuition is telling me. So all of this is going on, and I'm like, you know what, cool. Because at the end of the day, I'm focused on what it is that I'm there to do, what it is that I'm there to accomplish, what I can get out of the situation. And you want me to pay you a little petty $600 a month, perfectly fine. Cause I believe in karma. Like, the stuff that people do to you, it comes back to them, and I'm always protected, no matter what. So, people can move however they want to move, and I also understand that, I've mentioned in other videos, God puts us on assignments. We are on assignments sometimes. We're on missions to help certain people, and a lot of times it's not about us. It's not about what we think other people are trying to do to us, and it's not about protecting ourselves. It's about being in a position to teach somebody a lesson. And whatever lesson he learned from that situation, I hope there was a lesson that he learned from that situation, because there was definitely a lesson in it for me. And so that's what I think was going on. So back to the story or whatever. The police is at my door. So I'm like, you have to be fucking kidding me. You have to be kidding me. Okay, so that's why I told the story of what I think was happening. So because that's what was happening, because he was trying to get over and he realized he wasn't going to be able to get over, I was in the room, and as I was like packing, I got a little stressed out. So I smoked a little blunt or whatever, and I got back to packing. So he called the police, thinking that they were going to arrest me for smoking in the house. Then he thought he was going to be able to get all my stuff or whatever, and be able to keep the rent money and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's what I think he was trying to do. I'm not like, I don't operate in that way, but I'm not stupid. I'm very aware of how people operate. I'm very aware of how things work, and the motives that people could possibly have or whatever. And I listened to my intuition. That's what my intuition was telling me. And so, because why else would he call the police? The interaction that we had was no reason to call the police. It was a very simple conversation. We got into it about, because I don't like when people touch my things, and he felt like whatever. Like, we got into it about regular roommate shit. And then I was like, you know what? the only reason that I'm staying until August is because I already paid you my rent for this month. And he was like, well, I'll send you your rent. Oh, whatever. And you can move out today. And I was like, bet, say less. And that was literally the end of our conversation. So I don't know if he was not expecting me to call his bluff, but I'm definitely not the person to bluff with. Like I will always call your bluff. Do not play with me. Don't try to manipulate me and switch around. You said you're gonna give me back my money? Bet. Cause what I said to you is what I meant. I don't say things that I don't mean to people. I literally meant the only reason that I'm staying here is because I already paid you my rent. Dead ass serious, because I've been wanting to leave. I've been feeling the vibes. But I already paid you my rent, so I'm gonna stay here until, whatever. So you saying you gonna give me back my money and I can go? Let's do it. There's literally no reason for hostility. And then when I got there, he was standing outside already. So, like I said, we exchanged the words and I was like, just send me my money. I'm gonna go inside and pack my shit. Right? And so it takes me a while to pack because I gotta get my mind around things. So like a good hour or two did pass before the police showed up. And so they're at my door and I'm like, are you serious? You have to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. But I played it cool because I'm like, listen, I have way too much going on in my life to have a criminal record right now. And I'm not about to let this low life bring me down to his level. Because that's literally what he was trying to do. How do you, especially with the climate around cops and black people nowadays, how somebody that you care about, how would you call the police on them? Especially over something like that. I didn't touch you. I didn't threaten you. I didn't act aggressively in any type of way. There was no reason for you to call the police other than you being petty as fuck and trying to get over and being upset that you couldn't manipulate me. That's the only reason that you would call the police. And that shit, listen, when I tell you, that shit was so weird to me. So, I'm talking to the police and I'm like, I really don't know why he called y'all. This is where emotional intelligence comes in. And this is why I thank God every day that I have it. Because that situation could have went real left. And I would have been in somebody's jail right now, arrested or killed by the police because I didn't have emotional intelligence. And he was hoping that that's what was going to happen because he didn't have emotional intelligence. Clearly. Because to think that calling the police in that moment was appropriate, you definitely don't have emotional intelligence. Definitely not. To be so upset at somebody that they didn't behave in a way that you expected them to, that you would put them in harm's way by calling the police, you definitely don't have emotional intelligence. So this is where it came in play. So instead of, screaming and carrying on and whatever, I was just real calm and I was like, listen, meanwhile, I'm shaking. I'm so angry. I'm so livid. I was shaking. But I said calmly to the officer, I was like, listen, I don't know why he called you, but I'm packing my things and whatever he told them, they came at me in a hostile way. They were like, oh, how long is it going to take you to pack up your stuff and blah, 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 blah. I was like, listen, officer, this guy literally asked me a couple hours ago to move out. This is very last minute. I'm trying to get my things together. It's going to take me another hour or two. Maybe I can get it done faster, but that's the time frame that we're on right now. And as soon as he sends me my money, I will be on my way. No problem. I don't know what he told them. I honestly don't. Because I wasn't there for the conversation, but most likely it was some dramatic ass shit about me, whatever. Right? So the officers, they left or whatever. They went to go talk to him. And I was like, I can even show you the text messages. And you can determine for yourself if you think that the police should have been called based on this conversation. And they were like, oh, no, we don't need to see the text messages or whatever. And so he went outside and he went to talk to them. Then maybe 20 minutes later, they came back in. And And they were like, oh, we don't need any problems or whatever. There are more pressing matters for us to deal with. Like, basically, like, trying to say that their time is being wasted. And I was like, I don't know why you're telling me that, because I'm not the one who called you guys. I see that your time is being wasted. I'm not the one who called. I'm not the one wasting your time. And they were like, can we leave without there being an issue? And I was like, I'm good as long as he's good. Point blank, period. And they looked at me like, basically, because now at this point, because I don't know if you guys understand this, but cops are trained in certain situations. So now they're recognizing this for what it actually is, which is, I could possibly be in danger, because they understand that, they know that a lot of times the person who is the dangerous one is the one who calls the police first, so that they could get the other person in trouble. They're not stupid. They're assessing the situation as they get there. They're seeing how everybody reacts. They're saying certain things on purpose to see who is really the antagonizer in the situation. So by the time they came back to me the last time, they already peeped what the situation was. And so emotional intelligence is going to, being aware of a situation is going to let you know that that's what's happening. Always stay calm when you're dealing with the police. Never act aggressively, because, again, they are trained. And if you act in a way that they have been taught that an aggressor should act, even if you're not an aggressor, maybe you're just reacting out of fear and that's just how you act, you have to understand how it's going to come off to the other person. They don't know what the situation is. They don't know what they're walking into. They don't know what kind of situation this is, who you guys are to each other, what happened before. They have no clue. They've come to assess the situation. They're trained to do that. So you need to act in the most calm manner as possible. And they're going to figure out on their own what's really good. So that's what happened. So at the end, they were like, they kind of gave me this look like, after I said, as long as he's good, I'm good, they kind of gave me this look like, okay, are you safe in this situation? And I was just like, have a nice day or whatever. And so they left. And then he texted me, he sent me the rest of my rent or whatever, the prorated amount for my rent. And then messaged me and was like, if you could be out in an hour, whatever. Bullshit. And I, even after he had just called me the police emotional intelligence again, I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. I'll be out within an hour, no problem. I'll leave your keys on the couch and I'll be out in an hour, no problem. Thank you for sending me my rent back. And so, the whole time he's outside on the phone with whoever he's on the phone with. And it's just like, it's weird to me, like, how grown people behave in this way. Like, you are in a confrontation with somebody and your first reaction is to call somebody else on the phone and sit up there and for what reason? Especially when I was not aggressive towards this person. I didn't say nothing to him. Nothing out of the way. Nothing that would suggest that I was going to retaliate in any type of way. But because people operate in a manner in which they assume that other people operate the way that they would. So because he knows how he would have reacted in that situation, he behaved as if he reacted towards me as if I would have behaved in the same type of way. So that's why he's sitting on the phone, whoever, the whole time. I'm packing my shit. I didn't say nothing to him. I'm finished packing. I finished packing in like 45 minutes or whatever. I call somebody to come get me. All my stuff is out front. And I go to where he's standing because he wasn't inside the house. He was outside. And I go to where he's standing and I'm like, okay, I'm done packing. You can go back and stand down now and lock the door. And that's what he did. And I got my stuff together. And when my ride got there, I left. And I haven't said anything to him since then. Nothing to him since then. And that was a really traumatic situation. I feel like I'm always going through these things. So that was a big, long, drawn out story to basically get to the point of listen to when your intuition, God, whatever tells you something the first time, because that whole situation could have been avoided if I had just listened when I was instructed to move out. If I had just listened when I was instructed that this was not a person that I should be involved with in the first place. Not even when I was instructed to move out. Just, this is not a person you should be involved with in the first place. He has a record. He told you straight out. Why are you moving in with somebody who has a record? And here I am, I'm talking to myself. That's for me. That goes back to that I think I'm better than other people video. That was me trying to prove that I don't think I'm better than other people. But that's never put me in a situation that was a good situation. It's always put me in fucked up ass situations. Just like that one that I just mentioned. So I'm just at a point now where it's like, I'm not giving anybody any chances. The first time my intuition says something about something, I'm going with that first gut feeling, and I'm not playing games anymore with these people. I'm not going back and forth. I'm not doing it. So that's just the position I'm at now. I'm still not open to dating. Guys have been approaching me, not as heavy as they were after I made that prayer, but guys have still been approaching me. My roots are like, I want my roots to be a little bit straighter, but it's okay. So yeah, like, I'm still not dating. I'm still not going through this whole thing with people. I'm just not doing it. I'm sticking to myself. I'm starting to get closer to an understanding and more clarity about what my true path is, because as I mentioned before, I really think the teaching thing, it's time for me to back away from it. And now that I've been back in teaching, it's starting to become more and more apparent to me. But now it's like, okay, if I don't teach, then what do I do instead? And I'm starting to get more and more clarity and confirmation of what that next instead path is going to be. And I'm just kind of chilling and letting things unfold, rather than, that was another thing that was mentioned in the interview. Instead of telling God what your plans are and asking him to align things according to what it is that you think you want, ask him to align you with what your path is that he's already laid out. So it's already written. There is something that I'm destined for. I'm done with trying to figure out what it is. I'm done with trying to see the path, and I'm just surrendering. I'm going with the flow. I'm just, allowing things to unfold naturally as they do. And, so that's a little bit about where I am right now currently. I recorded another video that I just didn't post. I've actually recorded a few videos that I didn't post. And I'm not sure if I'm going to. I think I should. That's what's coming up. I should, because if I don't, in a way, I'm censoring myself. And so I think that I am going to post it. And it'll be another part of the book, because even though I don't feel like my story is necessary, it is to someone. And so there's a reason why I'm called to tell it. There's a reason that I made that whole 2-hour video in the first place. And so I have to honor that. So I am gonna post it. Uh, what else did I want to say in this video? I guess I want to talk a little bit more about kind of, oh yes, there was something else that was mentioned that in the video that Tyler Perry mentioned in the video that I don't know, it brought up thoughts for me, and I'm gonna kind of share what the thoughts were. And so the thought was, well, what he brought up was that social media is something that he hopes it's a poison, kind of like cigarettes and kind of like all this other stuff that he hopes will be eradicated from this earth. And when he said it, I thought that he was going to say alcohol, because to me, alcohol is equitable, or is easily compared um to cigarettes and to things that can kill you. Crack, like he said, cigarettes and crack and like all these drugs, these bad things for you. I think alcohol, if anything, if we're talking about things that are legal that are literally nowhere near beneficial to people, then the obvious answer would be alcohol. But he said it was social media. And it's like, to me, the discrepancy there is that social media can be used positively and it can be used negatively. There are ways that people are using social media that is not beneficial to people, and there are ways that social media is being used that is beneficial to people. Now, I cannot think of any benefit to alcohol, and I cannot think of any benefit to crack, and I can't think of any benefit to cigarettes. So all of those things to me would be in the same category. Now, social media is more in the category of weed, because there are benefits and drawbacks to smoking and consuming weed. So it would be more so on the sense of that food, other things that could be beneficial to us and also harmful to us. But things that are only harmful, like if you look up positive effects of alcohol, you're not really going to find any. You look up positive effects of cigarettes, maybe they calm you down or whatever. Basically everything has positive and negative effects, right? And so instead of condemning a thing for its negative effects, why can't we look at it and say, okay, what is it about social media? What is it about alcohol? What is it about crack? What is it about all of these negative things? What is it about these things that people are drawn negatively towards it? Because everything is relative, meaning everything is neutral. Everything is neither good or bad. We're the ones that attach the label onto it. We're the ones that make it good. We're the ones that make it bad. The thing in and of itself it just is what it is. Like love, everything is relative. Love, kindness, what's right and wrong, what's supportive and what's not supportive. All of those things are relative. Like support is relative, love is relative, and whether it's good or bad support, whether it is or isn't support, is determined by the person who is interacting with the thing. But those things in and of itself are constant. They don't have a face. They don't have a value. They don't have anything. We're the one that attaches ourselves and the value to it. So, with that being said, the thought that popped into my mind was, social media doesn't need to be eradicated, but instead, how do we educate people to a level to where they understand what social media is doing, and they have a control over their conscious and unconscious reactions to how it is impacting them. And a simpler way to say that would be to use myself as an example, right? Because he brought up, the algorithms and whatever, and how they kind of, shape what it is that we look at, and it kind of goes by like where we go and what we do and whatever. And it's kind of, he was like saying that if you're like a person who is depressed or sad, that it's going to kind of keep you locked in that cycle, because it's going to keep showing you things that make you depressed and sad. And so that was his argument for it. And it's like, fine, but what does that really solve by taking away the social media? The people are still going to be suffering because their mental state is not being changed. You're just taking away whatever it is that's triggering them. Just like with this whole like trigger warning thing and people getting canceled for saying certain things, and everybody's so sensitive about the words that we use and the things that we talk about, and there's all this censorship nowadays. It's like, who is that really helping though at the end of the day? Because again, let's take me for example. Like, I have gone through a lot of things in my life. Let's use the fact that I've gone through sexual abuse in my life. When I watch a video and people talk about sexual abuse, I don't, yes, it's triggering for me, but I internalize it and I say, okay, so this is triggering. Why is it triggering you? What feelings are still coming up? We thought we had healed that. Maybe we hadn't. I start talking to myself. I start trying to figure out what's going on with myself. I internalize it. I don't blame the other person for bringing it up. Oh, that happened to me and you brought it up and now I'm feeling sad again. I don't understand what the purpose of, like, what would be the purpose for that? That's just another way to pass the blame off on somebody else rather than dealing with whatever it is that you're going through. And so the thought that came up for me when he brought that up was, how do we get to a point where we can help people get to that place of internalizing their trigger and self-correcting and self-analyzing themselves, and really just, instead of pointing the finger and saying you brought this up and this happened to me, instead of doing that, how do we provide tools for people, and what tools do we provide to get people to think the way that I think, basically? And not that the way that I think is perfect, because it isn't, but I just don't have that reaction when I'm triggered. And so there's something to that. There's nothing different about me other than the fact, I don't know, like, I think that's what I'm gonna pray for next. Maybe some guidance in how, and like, what were the things that contributed to me thinking the way that I think? Why is it that I think that way? Why is it that I don't blame other people for triggering me? Why is it that I have this emotional intelligence? What led to that? And so then I can use that to kind of set the stepping stones for people and help them go down the same path, help them um, have the same awareness of what is going on in the world. Because for me, if certain things pop up in my algorithm, like on YouTube or whatever, and it's not in alignment with what I know I want for myself, I'm like, okay, so what's going on? Is somebody watching my YouTube? What am I doing? What is, what's the reason for this? Why is this popping up? Because sometimes some things will pop up and I'll be like, what the hell is this? And then I also have to understand, if I'm on public Wi-Fi, that's impacting, what other people are watching on the public Wi-Fi is into my algorithm, because that's how deep they're watching us. That's how deep the algorithm really goes. Whoever's on your Wi-Fi, what they watch is what's going to pop up in your algorithm. Like, it goes that deep. Wherever you go and your phone communicates with them, whatever you speak about, whatever people speak about that are around you, your phone is listening to that. So it's not only based on what you search. It's also based on where you go. It's based on where you live. It's based on the internet signal that you're using. It's based on a lot of different things. And so a lot of times I'm like, oh, okay, that's showing up because of, where I live at and whatever. And because, I don't live in, right now, I'm not living in I'm not living in the suburbs. Well, I'm living in the suburbs now, but during certain times, I wasn't living in the suburbs. I was living in the hood, renting a room, and certain things would pop up, and I'd be like, I know for a fact that that's not in alignment with who I am. And so, like, why is it that I have that reaction and other people just kind of go with it and don't even take the time to sit back and say, why is this popping up in my algorithm? What's the difference in the thought process between me and them? So that's what I'm going to be exploring. And as soon as I come up with some answers, of course, I'm going to share those with you. But I know I'm destined for something big. And if it hasn't shown up yet in my life, it's because I'm not ready for it. Or maybe I am ready and I'm holding myself back. But it is what it is. I've just gotten to the it is what it is point in my life, the surrender point in my life, and just kind of going with the flow, flowing with the go. I don't know what else to do, because I'm tired of trying to force things and make things happen and impose my ideas of what I think it should be. I'm through with all of that stuff. So that's kind of where we're at with it. I'm really interested. I'm really curious to know what it is that people need to be told. How can we teach people to change their thought process to accommodate for a higher vibration? How can we help people help themselves? That's what I'm always about. I'm not about to do anything for anybody. I would rather teach you how to fish so you can feed yourself and your family. I'm not about to go in there and feed you. I'm not about to fish all day and then go and hand it out to all the people that have just been sitting around and wallowing in their misery all day. I'm not gonna, that's just not my personality. That's not the way that I like to help people. I would rather be like, all right, instead of sitting your ass up here all day, come out here and fish with me. Let me show you how to do it. Let me show you what the process is. Even if you don't want to fish the first time, just come sit with me. Watch me. Watch me do it, and I'm going to teach you how to do it or whatever. And then, yeah, afterwards you could have a fish or two. Sure, because we did it together. You were there for the process. But I'm not about to go fish and then come in and hand it out to everybody. I'm just not about that. That's not how I like to lead and how I like to do things. And so that's that's also part of the process. And just me coming into an acceptance that that is just not how I like to operate. And instead of, judging it and making it like, oh, well, then that means that I really don't care. And so now we're getting to this word care. And there was something else that I wanted to say about care, right? So there's somebody else that I watch, and I'm conflicted about her because on one hand, I'm really happy that my algorithm has updated to the fact to where we're in the same reality together, because that means that I have elevated mentally. That means that I'm on my right path, because a lot of the things that she says aligns with things that I've already felt. So that gives me confirmation. That lets me know that, I'm, like I said, on the right path, right? Or whatever. But then there are some things that she says, and it's like, I don't agree with that. And I'm realizing that that's just the natural thing that happens. I think what I'm going to do is, because ends are looking fine. It's just the roots. I'm not able to get to the roots. Then I'm gonna get one of those electric hot combs and just pass through my roots again after I get all this done. But anyway, so where was I? Yeah, so there are certain things that she says, and it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. So my intuition is telling me that she is using the idea that she cares about people to make money off of them, which is fine, to each their own. But my intuition tells me that she can't be trusted, even though she has said things that have brought me confirmation, even though she has really brought me a lot of peace with the things that she says. I can't fully trust her in with certain things or whatever the case is. And there was something that she said that just really, like I said, rubbed me the wrong way. And it was basically, she was, trying to compare herself to other people that make videos and try to give people advice. And she was saying that if she didn't care, she would be out here, she wouldn't be trying to get people to see things her way. She wouldn't be out here trying to get people to see the right and the wrong way of looking at things. And she wouldn't be out here trying to educate people and trying to do this and trying to do that if she didn't care. And to me, it's like, but that doesn't communicate care to me personally. I know when somebody cares about me when they tell me the truth. I know somebody cares about me when they allow me to make my own decisions, when they allow me to speak my truth and they don't take it personally, when they allow me to speak to give them truth and they don't take it personally. We can actually sit and have a conversation about it. I know that person cares about me and I can trust them when those things are present. And so I've observed her and I've watched her bash people for speaking their opinions about her rather than trying to understand where it is that they're coming from. She says really mean things about them. But then how can you say that you care? To me, that's what care is. But to some people, care is exactly what she's doing, going out of her way to make somebody, to educate somebody, or to make somebody look at things the right and wrong way. And that's another thing. Right and wrong is relative. Just like how we were talking about earlier. You are no one to determine what's right and what's wrong, because what might be right for me is wrong for you, and vice versa. For example, the way that I look at care, I don't know if there's anybody else out there that would look at care that way, look at it that way, because there are a lot of things, like most people, if you tell them the truth, they're going to say you don't care about them. Most people, if you let's just leave it at truth. Most people, if you tell them the truth, they're going to think you don't care about them. They'd rather be lied to. They'd rather be boosted up and told positive things all the time. And that's not how I view care. Yeah, I want to hear positive things when they're genuine and when they come from a sincere place. When it feels nasty and I feel like you're trying to manipulate me and then you say something that's nice. I don't want that. I want a nice, balanced, honest, flowing relationship with people. Sometimes you're going to have to tell me about myself. Sometimes I'm going to have to tell you about yourself. And that it just is what it is. And sometimes I might give you a compliment and it's genuine. And sometimes you might give me a compliment, it's going to feel genuine. That's the only way that those things, that's the only way it flows for me. And I just can't, I can't get down with that. I don't trust her. I don't. That's what makes me feel like it's just about the money for her. Because she mentions how, women are the resource and whatever. I really think like she's basically pimping women and blaming and trying to deflect and tell women that only men are unsafe and women are the safe spaces, but there have been plenty of situations where women are not safe either. No one is really safe. No one is really dangerous. It's all a relative thing. All of it is relative. So women are not more safe than men when it comes to being manipulated and vice versa. So that's the agenda I think she's trying to push. She's trying to deflect onto men, get women to not want to deal with men at all, so that she can come in as the knight in shining armor, and they can pour all of their resources into her when all she's doing is taking. She's not really giving anything. She claims that she gives things to us, but she does no giveaways. Most of the things she does is not free. Most of the things she does of value is not free. Her book is ridiculously expensive. And from what the reviews say, don't really have like, it doesn't really have much substance in it. Celebrities aren't even charging that much for their books because they understand their audience. Like that's what business is all about. You have to understand your audience base, and if you want them to have access to what it is that you're saying, you really believe that they can benefit from whatever it is that you're saying, you need to make it accessible to them. And I'm not bashing her for however much her book costs. She feels like that it's worth her experiences and all that is worth that much, then of course she should price it at whatever she feels like she wants to price it. My only point is give me a second, guys, because I need to at least get my edges when it comes to right here. Right, she can price it at whatever she wants to price her work at, but to sit there and try to convince people that she cares about them when she doesn't is a problem for me. But you know, everything has its place. Everybody is who they are for a reason. I'm not asking her to change. I'm not requiring her to change. I just have to make the decision on whether or not I want to follow her or support her. And I just have to make a decision whether or not we're in alignment and she's somebody that I want to be a part of my life, and the fact of like how I listen to her and all that kind of stuff. Is she somebody that I want to consume? Is she somebody that I want to have access to my psychology, my psyche? Is she somebody that are her words something that I want to possibly be influencing me? And so it's up to me to make that decision. It's up to everybody who listens to her to make that decision. And I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't do. But for me personally, I just got to make a certain decision. And it is what it is. And so just coming to like that understanding. And that goes for anybody that we listen to. It's not always going to be a perfect match. It's not always going to be a perfect match. Except for with Caroline Myss. She's a perfect match. Point blank, period. Who else is a perfect match? Judge Lynn Toller, perfect match to me. Anything that lady says is golden. I have never listened to an interview or a word that came out of her mouth and I had to judge her character and I had to judge her integrity and I had to judge whether she was in alignment with me. Never. I've never had to, I've never been off put by something that she said. It's always been, wow, I've never thought of it that way. Wow, that's exactly how I feel wow, it's amazing to see somebody who is successful that's just as quirky as me and who don't give a fuck about what people think about them. Judge Lynn Toler gives zero fucks. She tells it straight like it is. And she is like somebody that I aspire to be. She's so, if I had a role model, if I had somebody that I would like study and try to be like, it would be her. She's just such an inspiration to me. And I understand that for other people, she's not going to be an inspiration to them because they didn't grow up being weird and quirky. They didn't grow up the same type of way. They don't have the same type of, quirks and the same type of personality and whatever. I truly feel that she's a part of my soul tribe. She's one of the people who my soul is kind of aligned with. We're kind of on the same path. Got a little burning going up in there. And so everything she says is gold to me. Everything. So she's one of the people that I fuck with, and it just is what it is, you know? So what else have I been holding in and wanting to say? I do think that I am making a friendship with somebody, and I'm kind of excited about it. It's another girl that works at the school that I work at, so we'll see how that unfolds. She and I have a lot of similarities. She's much younger, so we'll see. Like I said, we'll see how things unfold with that. But other than that, like I said, I've just been chilling. I need to I just need to focus a little bit more on disciplining myself, because this next path is going to be all about disciplining myself. It's going to be all about working towards a really, really hard goal and coming back on the other side triumphant. Seeing something through for the first time. I don't think I've ever, if I'm being honest with myself, there's a lot that I have accomplished, and to some it may seem like a big deal, but it's never been a big deal for me because it has always been easy. Everything that I've accomplished was easy for me to accomplish. I never really had to put in any hard work. Getting my degree, all of that type of stuff, I didn't have to actually work towards it. It all came easily and naturally for me. This thing that I'm trying to go for is going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard. And it's going to be the first time in my life that I have ever really applied myself to something that I did not enjoy doing. And I'm kind of excited for it, but I'm struggling. I'm not gonna lie. I'm definitely struggling with wrapping my mind around it. But I think that now that I have finally admitted to myself that the reason it's been taking so long for me to get it done is because it does not come naturally to me. And then I had to be honest with myself that I don't like to work at things. I am not a hard worker. All this time I thought that I was, because people would tell me, because they would see from the outside looking in, from their perspective, from their relativity, that what I was doing was hard. So, oh, you're a hard worker. But I'm really not in actuality, because hard work means that you're disciplined and diligent at something that you don't want to do. So the mental power and the discipline that it takes to do something that you don't want to do, but you know that it's going to be good for you. You're literally having to change your thought patterns, your personality, your character. You're having to apply yourself in ways that you've never applied yourself before in order to get this crazy radical result. I have never done that before in my life. And that's why I'm always starting something and stopping, starting and stopping, starting and stopping. And so, I mean, I could give myself credit. I could say, like, getting my degree and all of that, it wasn't something, like, doing schoolwork wasn't something that I wanted to do. A lot of it was very boring. A lot of it was very not what I wanted to do, and I had to, but it wasn't never for like a long period of time. Like this is, and also yeah, it was never for like a really long period of time. It was always like, oh, just, bite the bullet, write the essay, and then it's over, and and it's fine. And an essay takes a day or two at the most to complete, or if you really focus in on it, a couple hours. Like what it is that I'm trying to accomplish now will take months and years of me being disciplined and being at it. Like it's gonna take a whole mind state change, a whole lifestyle change. Like it's gonna take a lot of changes, a lot of permanent changes. And I'm realizing that I've been fighting against that. And so just having the grace with myself, having the grace with myself, the patience with myself to just understand it's a struggle. But that doesn't mean it's never going to get done. That just means that I'm not ready. Not ready yet to get it done. What do I need to get ready? What things need to be in place? What can I start working on now to ensure that at some point I am ready? Is there anything that I could do at this time to ensure that when the time comes, I'm ready? Or have I already done everything? Is it just a waiting game at this point? So, just kind of battling with those different things. So much of my hair is breaking off, but all of that is dead hair. So, kind of coming off of that, and now that the dead hair thought came up. So, yesterday I was having a conversation with someone. I was telling them how I combed out my locks, and she was telling me it's the same girl that I told you guys that, we might be developing a friendship. I'm not sure yet. But she said that she had combed out her locks too. And I was telling her, like, the thought process that I was going through as I was combing out my locks, and how I was thinking that, like, when you lock your hair and you start combing it out, a lot of it breaks off. Like, maybe at some point, I think maybe on my timeline, I'll post a picture of the bag of dead hair that I collected when I was combing out my locks. Like, it was a lot of hair that just fell out. And even as I'm combing it now, there's a lot that's not as much because I got most of it, but there's still dead hair coming out. And so that's the natural process of our hair, though. It grows, new hair grows, and the dead hair falls off. We comb it out, and it's renewed or whatever. And so I was thinking to her, and I was talking to her, and I was like, as I was combing out my hair, I was thinking, like, should I even have locks as a woman? Or is locks, are locks more of just a man's hairstyle? Because death is something that it's a masculine thing. It's something that men are more in line or in tune with. And women are more in line and in tune with life because we give life. Men resonate more or deal better with death. And so maybe that's a better, more spiritually aligned hairstyle for men. And maybe when women lock their hair, it has the adverse effect on us. Everything dies. And so that was the conversation I was having with her. She was like, that's interesting. And so, but she did agree that, like, keeping that dead hair on your head is not, she was like, yeah, it is dead hair. Because she was like, yeah, when I combed out my hair, a lot of it broke off or whatever. And I was telling her, like, because all of it was dead. It was supposed to break off. And when you lock your hair, there's nowhere for the dead hair to go. It just sits on your head. So imagine people who have their locks for years at a time. That's probably why after a couple years, because these were my second set of locks. After a couple years, or even after like a year, after some time, I start having dreams. Like, I remember the first set of locks, I had a dream that I combed them out. And I kept, like, my intuition kept telling me, get rid of the locks, comb them out. But I kept fighting against it because my mom said something negative and I was rebelling against her. So I didn't want to listen to my intuition. And that just goes to show, like, my mom had the right advice. She always has the right advice to give. It's just the delivery sucks. The delivery is terrible. The delivery leads me astray. It's not worthy of a mother. That's not how a mother should give her advice. Like, all of the wisdom that's locked in the advice that she gives, all of the insight, all of the alignment is lost because of the way that she decides to deliver the message. Instead of saying, oh, people are going to look at you this kind of way and that kind of way when you have your dreadlocks. I don't care about any of that. But if she would have said, that's literal dead hair that you're keeping on your head, and this is how it's affecting you spiritually. This is how it's affecting you in your everyday life. This is why you keep having those dreams and you keep having those thoughts of combing them out. Then it would have meant so much more to me. It would have been so much more beneficial. It would have been so much more in alignment. It would have meant so much to our relationship, would have brought us closer. Then that would have been something that I could have shared with somebody rather than me having to learn that the hard way. Because it took me years to figure that out, when it could have just took 1 second for her to just have that conversation with me. And it's like, I'm not blaming her because she doesn't know. She doesn't know because she probably just feels it and didn't understand that that's where it comes from. And so for her understanding, people look at you a different kind of way, and she didn't want people to judge me. So she threw that up, and that's for her. That's what would have worked for her. And so that's the way she decided to do it. But for me, I give zero fucks what other people think. I rebel against what other people think. Oh, you don't like the fact that I have dreadlocks? I'm going to wear them anyway just to spite you, just to be petty. That's my personality. That's not her personality. So just that clash and that misunderstanding of, my daughter doesn't think the same way that I think. And because she is the way that she is, she kind of created that monster in me, the rebellious spirit. Or maybe I was born with it, who knows. But that's how I react to things. If you tell me don't do that because of what other people are going to think, I'm going to do it simply to make that point. And so the fact that she doesn't understand that about me, or maybe she understands it, but instead of working with me on that frequency and finding a way to communicate with me that's in alignment with the way that I am, she's trying to change me into who she is. And that's not mothering. That's not nurturing. That's not what a mother is there for. And so that's kind of like where we're at with the situation. So I don't think I'm going to be locking my hair again. I think I'm still not 100% sure what makes me want to lock it in the first place. Maybe it's my masculine side crying out for some expression in my life. Or maybe it's me panicking and figuring out, like, you know, stability is what's coming up. So let me find a way to articulate that and kind of compare it to what I'm talking about. So maybe because I didn't feel stable emotionally or however, I thought that the locks, because it's a masculine thing, masculine stability is masculine. So because I was lacking some certain masculine traits, maybe subconsciously I felt like the locks would kind of bring that into my life. And maybe it did. Maybe it did help me become more stable. But there were other ways that I could have become more. And then once I felt stable enough, then I combed them out. Or once I learned what I needed to learn, then I combed them out. But then it's like, instead of changing your whole hairstyle just to accomplish something, is there an easier, more productive, more efficient way to accomplish the same thing? And I think that there is. So now that I'm aware of why I keep feeling like I want locks, I can actually address what it is that I'm feeling a lack of and stop trying to cure it or assuage it with the locks. So basically, I'm going to start getting, like, now that I know what it is, I can get down to the nitty gritty of it. I can get down to the root cause of it and really deal with that rather than trying to mask it with locks. And it's superhuman, so this is not even going to last. But like I said, the whole purpose of straightening the hair in the first place is so that I can clip my ends. And that is working out perfectly. So for that reason, everything is fine. And then even if my hair isn't completely bone straight and I can't wear it, like, you know, straightened, it'll be easier to work with in this state. I'll probably like put it in a bun or something. I'll be able to style it some other kind of way, like it'll be more manageable. So it's a win-win. I may not be able to wear it straight like I wanted to, but I'll be able to style it some other kind of way and get a few, like a week or two out of, you know, all the time that I'm taking to do this. Because that's the whole purpose of, like, you know, I don't want to spend however long I'm spending doing this and then only get a couple days worth of wear out of it. Like, I want it to last at least a week or two before I have to wash my hair. Because, like, washing my hair is a whole production. I don't know if you guys can see, but my hair is very long and very thick. And this is with all the breakage. Like, I am going to post the picture of, like, how much hair broke off. And this is still how much length I have. And it's behaving now because I'm taking it out of twists. But if I were to just wash my hair and go and do nothing to it, oh my God. It would be a tangled mess. It would be a whole tangled mess. And another thing we talked about, you know, when we were talking about combing our hair out is your hair texture changes when it's locked versus when it's not locked. And I think that also has to do with the changes in your frequency and in the spiritual aspects of what's going on. Everything is spiritual. I look at everything as like it has a life. It has a frequency. Even your hair, even the state of your hair, the reason why your hair is curly, the reason why your hair is straight, how you were born with hair, how like some people their hair grows a lot and some people that doesn't grow a lot. It's all energy. It's all spiritual. There's a spiritual reason for it all, right? And so if we can understand that, we can manipulate the energy to make whatever reality is that we want, which becomes manifestation and alchemy. So understanding that the reason why your hair changes texture is because your frequency, your energy has changed texture. You're going from a very masculine, your hair's going from being in a very masculine state, a very constant, a very stable, a very stuck state in locks, to a more free and open state. So yeah, the texture is going to change. And then the more that you do it and manipulate it, the texture is going to change again. I've noticed that my hair is more manageable when I keep on a very stable, when I keep up with it, basically. Like when I do it every 2 weeks, and no matter what I do to it, it's really not about how much heat I apply or how much product I apply or whatever. It's just, putting that energy into doing my hair and washing it and making sure that it's styled and not just hiding it under something and taking the easy way out. Like the more energy I put into my hair, doing it and making it look how I want it to look, the more the texture changes, the more it's manageable, the more healthy it looks, the more happy it is. So think of your hair as a plant or as anything else that's living, because your hair is living. The more energy and love you put into it, the more it's going to give you, the nicer it's going to look. So I'm having to do all this maintenance because I wasn't doing maintenance for almost a year when it was locked up. I'm telling you, like, my hair was dry. Like, I put that product in, that wash and go product, and so many people were having good, like, outcomes with it. So I was like, it'll be fine or whatever. But no, my hair was like, girl, what you thought? Did you think that you were really going to be able to keep me locked up for almost a year and then I was going to behave in a wash and go? No, ma'am. Think again. So, just having that relationship with your hair. Shout out to Tabitha Brown. She actually named her hair. Her hair's name is Donna. 'Cause yeah, like, yes. I don't think my hair has a name, but your hair is like a whole person. It's like it has a whole identity, a whole personality. And just respecting that and not trying to make it be what you want it to be, but working with it and honoring it and understanding what it needs and giving it the care that it needs. It all works together, because as you're giving your hair the things that you need and the care that it needs, you're giving yourself the things that you need and the care you need. And then it gives back to you in the form of looking nice and helping you have higher self-esteem, and then people give you compliments on it and you feel better. Like, it's all a ripple effect. It's all a domino effect. So all this time that I'm putting into doing my hair is, I don't look at it as like, oh, I gotta spend 5 hours doing my hair anymore. Like, I used to look at it that way. But now it's like I get to spend 5 hours caring for myself, self-care. Like, I'm gonna take this time. Like, I'm excited for it. Like, I couldn't wait until today. Like, I woke up this morning, I made something to eat, and I couldn't wait to start straightening my hair. and caring for it, even though it's tangled up. And even though I knew it was going to take 5 hours or however long it's going to take to do this, I don't even know how long this video is going. But yeah, so just changing your thought process. Like even me, even though I don't have certain thought processes against like things that would control other people, I still have my vices that other people don't have. Like there are people who do their hair and have always understood the importance of it because they were socialized that way. They've always understood. Like I had a best friend in high school. She always did her hair on her own and it always looked beautiful. Like I can never think of a time when I saw her hair looking crazy. She always took care of her hair. And for me, it was a task, but things that I was good at, she was never good at. She wasn't good at, and vice versa. So it was like, just things like that. Like just understanding we all have something to teach and we all have something to learn. And with that, I'm gonna end the video. Until next time, be well.